Do we need some limitations on carbon emissions in order for that sort of project to move forward?
That's a great question, because Mike and I fundamentally disagree on this one, so we'll hear some different answers. I believe that we need a cap and trade emission strategy. I believe that it is essential for us to move forward with coal technologies. It will be an enabling step. It will not hurt the economy of Wyoming, because what it will do is it will open the doors and it will allow compromise legislation that lowers the rest of the barriers to coal production. The reason we've seen this entrenchment recently, and the reason we've seen no real progress in clean coal technology, in the building of IGCC coal plants, of coal liquefaction facilities with a few small exceptions, the reason we haven't moved down this road further than we have is because nobody is certain of what the future is going to hold in terms of carbon dioxide expenses. In other words, what are the related expenses down the road? If we can just tell industry, if we can just tell them the numbers, they can plug them into their models and figure out what they need to do to be profitable. With coal liquefaction, the break-even point is around $35 per barrel equivalent, and that's one of the worst numbers I've seen. $35 per barrel equivalent to produce gasoline and other fuels. That's an awful big gap of profit that they could use to pay what would effectively be a relatively small carbon tax. In other words, what it will do is it will enable the marketplace to shift coal to where we need coal, which is in the transportation sector, to get us off our dependence on foreign oil. And at the same time, it will shift our electrical power generation grid to adopt carbon sequestration and carbon capture technologies. But it will also shift it probably into renewables. Not probably, it will shift it into renewables and other things. So we will actually be able to have a long-term stable increase in our coal production for liquefaction purposes, whereas we'll have a long-term decrease, and I'm talking 30 to 50 years, in a nice, reasonable manner for power generation. So yes, I do support the cap and trade strategy.
Senator Enzi.
So far, the cap and trade schemes that I've seen are a different way of taxing Americans, not solving a problem. We do need to reduce the amount of carbon in the air. And I do an inventors conference every winter. I did it originally so that I could encourage young people to invent something that could be made in Wyoming and shipped around the world. And then they could live anywhere they want to, which I know would be Wyoming. And I have a lot of confidence in the young people. We've been having them come to these. Actually, I have more adults come to it than I do kids. But the emphasis that we're placing is some solutions for energy now. Cleaner energy, better energy, and definitely clean coal. We've been trying to get permitting for a plant down by Hannah, Medicine Bow. That plant would change coal to diesel fuel, which would be a low sulfur or no sulfur diesel, or coal to jet fuel. It could provide some of the fuel that the military needs. It'll be a long permitting process and a dollar process to get that done. So if we're going to do cap and trade, we ought to just make it a tax on things so people know what they're actually paying. And they'd have a little more appreciation for what the problem is. But we do need to give people incentive to find ways to sequester carbon and to invent new ways of doing things. Last Thursday, there was an announcement in the paper about a man that's invented a machine that will take carbon out of the air. And he says it's almost commercially ready and can be put in the big population areas to suck that out. I do have this little picture, though, of plants kind of gasping for air. But it is a problem that inventors can